Hey everyone, before this video gets started, if you're an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, really any major gig economy worker, and you want to get paid for benefits, sick time, and a whole bunch of other stuff, then click the link below to sign up for Cover. Cover is an incredible service that's basically being the missing link for Uber drivers and Lyft drivers that we've been looking for a super long time. If you get into an accident, or you get hospitalized, God forbid, or just you need a sick day, Cover will actually replace 80% of that income. So click the link down below and get 30 days free on us right now. Now let's get started on this video. What's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name is Greg. What I'm doing for you guys today is I'm just going to talk about some of the changes with kind of Uber and Lyft. This is going to be more Lyft focused, but I'm basically going to be talking about how the apps are kind of phasing out. There's been a lot of recent changes in the last really 6 months specifically. And just some interesting things that the companies have released, just different statements and releases about like where they're actually going and kind of what they actually believe, you know? So it's kind of a weird topic because to some degree they're both super secretive, I feel like, about as much as they can, which is super shady, but you know, whatever. We love working for them, right? But let's jump right into this. So both apps have changed like crazy significantly in the last 4 or 5 years. The biggest thing that I think most drivers are going to point to are the, wage cuts. So here's some of the most recent changes. Like I said, most of these are going to affect Lyft because Lyft is probably, if I had to guess, the one that will like completely phase out first. So with Lyft, one of the biggest changes they made in the last it's probably like 4 months ago now, is the rate you get for long distance ride dropped. I believe it went down like 8 cents per mile. So if you have a ride that, I actually don't know what their rule is for this, but I believe it's something like a 20 plus mile ride, you now will make like 8 cents less per mile on those long distance rides. The reason they say they do this is so that is because they increased the short distance rides. So supposedly we make more money on short distance rides. So now here's the problem with all this, is that they say they do this, but they also then just recently took away the feature for us to see what the passenger pays. So like regardless of what the rates are, we still don't really know like what we're actually getting paid, you know? And so I personally don't feel like I actually saw like a significant rise in how much I was making on shorter rides, but I really saw the decrease on longer rides. It used to be that if I gave a 30 to 45 minute ride, obviously depending on the mileage, but usually on average, I'm making at least $25 on a ride like that, which is great because that's in under an hour, you're making $25. And that's why I think most drivers loved longer rides. It always is going to depend on the market you're in. But like for me, I always loved getting those longer rides because I knew for that hour, like I'd basically made my quota. You know, I'm always trying to make like 20 plus an hour. And so now I would give like a similar distance ride and I feel like I make more like $17 to $19. And, and again, that's still not bad. It's still like pretty good for the hour, but I don't know. I just feel like so many of the good earnings on like non-surging days, like especially weekdays, always came from those long distance rides. And to be honest, like it's not like we were giving long distance rides all day, like I could kind of understand if every ride was a 25-mile ride where they could seriously make like a pretty massive profit margin just from making that simple change. But it seems like there's way more short rides than long rides. And I think just about any driver would agree with me on that. Like your average ride is probably 7 minutes long, maybe 10 minutes, depending on the market. Like here in Phoenix, we do have a pretty good amount of long rides because the city is very spaced out, but this is a rare area. Every other city I've worked at, I felt like the average ride was probably 7 to 9 minutes. And so I don't feel like I saw like any gain the shorter rides. I mean, like maybe like 20 more cents on each short ride, but that's not going to add up fast enough, you know? And so where my problem lies is I feel like they said that, but now we have no way of holding them accountable because we don't know what the passenger pays. So I feel like it was like they made this change and then rolled out this new rule, and it's like, what are you really going to say or do there? You know, are you going to tell them you don't think you're making the right amount of money in each ride? I mean, I've tried that before, and you get that same automated bullcrap message. So that was one of the bigger changes. Some of the other things that happened was for the Lyft Express drive, the long distance rides had already gone down once. So on Lyft Express, I think it had already gone down like 4 cents per mile or something like that. And I remember one time I checked, and the rate on a long distance ride for the Lyft rental drivers was like 25 cents per mile. And I was like, that is a freaking joke, you know? And the Express program is kind of crappy too, now that I think about it, because like you have to pay to get this vehicle, like a good amount of money. I mean, it's like, if you're hitting every bonus, it's like $150 a week. And they still are they're still cutting your wages on each ride just because you rent a car. I always thought that was a little bit ridiculous. But so that's some of the biggest changes that they've made as far as like rates, fares, and just kind of overall, you know, the rides in general. The short rides we supposedly make more on. The long rides we make less. The only thing I've really noticed is I definitely make less on the longer rides. So the one fortunate thing about Uber is Uber hasn't done anything like this. The other thing that Lyft did is they got rid of the prime time, which for me, that was when I really started hitting a wall with Lyft, because that was where I made some of my best money with Lyft, was from prime time. And so what really ticked me off is they were like, you guys asked and we listened. And I was like, the only people I know that would ask for this change are like really new drivers that don't know any better. But like, I really can't imagine any veteran driver wanted to get rid of prime time, because the little dinky bonuses they have now, I see them like once a week. So I feel like I've noticed a huge, just massive drop in Lyft rides in general. I was sharing in a different video that, you know, like I'm like most drivers, I'll run Uber and Lyft at the same time. I go out to work, I turn both apps on. And so what I noticed is in the last, like, I think it was like a month and a half, something like that, I on average do about 20 hours a week. Every now and then I'll do more like 30 or 40. It just really depends. But if you really averaged it out, I'm probably a 20 to 25 hour a week driver. And so that's not a crazy amount, but it's enough to where, man. All right. So in the last few months, what I had noticed is all that driving, I mean, like I said, 20 to 25 hours a week. And I had done only about, I think it's 5 or 6 Lyft rides. I can't remember how many Uber rides I did, but obviously it was way more than 5 in the span of a month, you know? And I was like, man, like Lyft has really slowed down. So I don't know if customers aren't using it less or aren't using it as much or what, but something has seriously changed with Lyft. Like I have noticed a significant drop, and I think Lyft as a company, I don't know if they're phasing out or if they're just about to make some even more drastic changes, but something doesn't seem good on their end. The other thing I've noticed is that I was just on vacation and I took a bunch of Uber and Lyfts. I would almost always take Lyft because it was usually cheaper. And a lot of times by like a few dollars, but now almost every time I check, Lyft is either the same or more than Uber. And so like, if I'm going to pay the same, I'm going to request Uber, because we all know Uber drivers are going to get there quicker. You know, there's so many Uber drivers out there. I just got picked up from the airport yesterday, and the guy was a minute away. And he probably had the fast pickups for Uber Gold Rewards, but still, like, that was really nice, because I had just been on 4 different flights, and I mean, I liked that I got that super quick pickup. So I feel like in general, both companies are phasing out, you know, but I think Lyft might actually be very, very close. So the other major change, now I've talked about this a few times, so you guys probably already know about this and what was going on here, but I was a part of a case study where myself and a bunch of other drivers released our earnings from, I can't remember how long it was, like maybe a few weeks. Basically, so that this company could do a case study to see how much money Uber and Lyft is really taking from the drivers. So they do this study, and when they get the data back, it shows that Uber was taking 30% and Lyft was taking 35%. So 10 and 5% higher than either company publicly states. So they both come out and they're like, well, it's a bogus study. You didn't have enough data to do it. And I'm like, hey, that's fair. Like, that's not every driver on the planet, but that's 14,000 drivers that you clearly took 35 and 30% from. Like, I don't know how you're going to argue that. It's like pretty plain and clear cut to me. So then this company goes, okay, well, give us all your data then, and we'll do a really legit case study. Both companies refused, which is like, I don't know what you have to do to look any shadier, you know? So, and then to top it off, then it was like a month later where then Lyft did their thing where they removed our ability to see what the passenger pays. So from that standpoint, I was like, man, you guys look so sketchy. So what I've heard, and I don't actually know the merit of this, I've heard this on so many different networks and everything, is that both companies are working towards full automation. They want to have robot drivers. And that makes sense because like Uber, for instance, paid out $8.4 billion last quarter just to the drivers. And they profited 12 something billion. So that's, you know, a good 60+% of their profit is going straight to the drivers of their net. And so if they can eliminate that, they're going to. Now, obviously, there's going to be like crazy upfront costs. You know, they have to have an initial investment to buy like a mega fleet of robot cars, for lack of better words. And then they're going to have to re-maintenance some and, you know, work on them. So obviously it's not like, you know, they're just going to pocket that $8 billion. Like, they probably need close to that for a startup investment for a program that big that would go international. I'm sure they would just start it in the States, but you see what I'm saying? So with Uber, I don't think Uber is actually really going to phase out. My prediction is that Lyft will phase out and Uber might take over, or Uber will just completely buy out Lyft. I heard a rumor once that the same owners, the owners actually knew each other, and they basically created Lyft to like make this like fake competition, and supposedly they own stock in each other's companies. I really don't know if that's even remotely true, so don't quote me on that. I've heard that from just like random Uber passengers, and you know, it's funny, as an Uber driver, you have like the weirdest collection of like info in your head from all the people you've talked to about the craziest things. But anyways, so that's my bold prediction. I think Uber will take over. I think it might even buy out Lyft, and I think it will go full automation. I think Lyft will phase out. I think they're just having such a hard time competing. They're getting rid of all the best features of driving, which is really ticking off me and a lot of other people. And it should tick off you guys. Like, the things they're getting rid of suck. So I'm going to cut the video off here though, guys, but I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon.